we'll go through this. So we've got here a laminated quest sheet or party sheet. This is what this is. I think this actually has a little bit more because you can put your stats on here. You can write your stats on. It is dry erase, and then you use the cubes to do the things. But this, you've got a dry erase board as well, so you can just put X's to mark it off, wipe them off as you heal up and whatever. You've got your light source, so it's where you would put your tokens, weapons if you've dodged, all that kind of stuff. And it is double-sided. We've got this one is the there's the bottom of it, the opening there. Not going to need that bit. So this one, again, a couple of quick reference sheets. So this tells you everything. We've got the turn sequence, we've got the threat roll in combat. So if you're in combat you're increasing the difficulty or whatever, you roll on this table. If you're not in combat, then you roll on this table. So certain things that you do will increase or require you to roll on the threat table. We've got doors and their difficulty unlocking, what you roll on the dice. So there's a lot of dice rolling in this. It's very dice heavy. We've got non-combat threat. We've got traps, so the order that you do things in traps. We've got the initiative, rest, wandering monster, searching tiles, so how you search rooms and things. We've got fear, actions, magic, to hit modifiers, damages, power attacks, parry, rolls, sanity. We've got party morale, gear, loads to it. It does seem very intimidating, but it's not, guys. I wanted to fund this a little bit. He was kind enough to send this to me, so I did buy the main rule book and the monster, the bestiary PDF from the web store, to try and support, throw us a little bit of support his way, and so I could get a bit of a read through ahead of this unboxing. The rules, they're a little bit intensive, but they're not too difficult, especially when you've got the quick reference sheet. Once you've played a few games, in my mind, I can see it becoming very intuitive. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, so we do this, we've got to roll this, we check this. So yeah, checking stuff is probably the only thing that slows the game down, but not to the point it becomes boring. So we've got search tables here. So if you're searching furniture, it will tell you what you roll on a D10. So if we grab, let's just randomly, we'll grab a campfire. So if you find a campfire in a room or in the wild and you search it, you roll a D10 on a 1 to 4, you then roll a D3 and you get that many rations. If you roll a 5 to a 10 on a D10, then you get nothing. If we roll, checking drawers, so 1 to 2, you will find a fine treasure. 3 to 8, you'll get a small bag of coins, and to determine how many that is, you roll 2 D20s and obviously add it together. And then if you get a 9 and 10, you get nothing. So he's covered pretty much everything that you could search that is on his tiles. Obviously, if you add your own things in, you'll just have to sort of lump it into one of these areas. Most of it will fall into boxes, chests. You've even got Dead Adventure on here. Dining table, you could account that for any kind of food table. Drawers, fountains. Do we have a regular table or a desk? So we've got a study table. Any kind of desk. I don't think there's desks on here. Drawers, so drawers would obviously count as the desk, so it's pretty much all covered, which is excellent. Right, then in here we've got a pad of the one that was laminated. So I think it's called the Heroes sheet or the something sheet, but yeah, so you've got all of that for tracking, double-sided again, and you can print these off. He does also sell this online. If you want to buy another pad of it, again, you can. But I think you can also download it for free and print it. Again, the links will be down below. But you can download and print them for free if you run out and you don't mind printing. The same with the character sheets. So there are 4 races and I believe 6 classes in this. The way that the sheets have been done is there are 4 sheets. So you have your typical fighters, and on the back you have the type of stuff that they will need. You've got your spellcasters like a wizard, and on the back you will then have the spells, and on the fighter section you don't have that. So each of them is sort of hero specific, and again you can buy this and you can get a PDF to print them for free, and I believe there are some slightly ink friendlier versions that don't have the artwork in the middle, so you can just print it and do it that way. So expansions. The Dark Pyramid is the one that was the Lost Sands. It's actually called the Dark Pyramid. So we've got a little quest book here. This is sort of the second quest book. So you can see you've got some quests. Just to have a look at a quick one. Hopefully, you know, spoilers, if you don't want to look, don't look. But I'll just go through. So we can see here that you get a number of tiles, 6 plus 6. And it doesn't limit the tiles in terms of what ones you use, but you need 2 lots of 6. And then the objective room are 25. So you'll grab the cards for these and grab the cards for these, and I believe you shuffle the objective room into one half of the 6, and then so you'll shuffle one half of the 6 with the objective room in it, you'll shuffle the other 6 separately, and then you'll stack the 6 on top of the 6 with the objective room. So 6 on top of the 7 basically, and that's how you then do your quests. So the quests, they'll use similar rooms, but they'll be pulled and drawn in different order. Okay, companions. Now this I like. You can hire mercenaries. So the game is designed 1 to 4 player. Some people don't like having to track everything for 4 players. That's a lot to track. So what Michael came up with was companions, and in the forms of mercenaries. So you would hire these. They have pre-built in stats. There are cards for them as well. We'll go through them. But they have basically, they're just shortened down characters without all the extra fluff that you need to worry about. You just give them this stuff. You don't need to level them up as far as I'm aware. I think the numbers here is how much it costs to hire them for a quest. So obviously you can go to different quests. I did see somebody mention in a video of what you could do is make a list and place certain characters at different locations, and you can only hire that companion when you're at that location or that town, and that's their hometown. So you could also find them on a quest that is linked with that town, which I think is a great idea. It means that you can't just hire the most dangerous mercenary you want. He's also got here, which is really cool, backer mercenaries. So if you backed the campaign at a certain tier, you've got to create mercenaries, and he's included them. So we've got one that doesn't cost anything here, and then obviously again ones that cost more. Generic mercenaries, so if you want to create your own, then you have all of that as well. You can create your own mercenaries. It does say what tables of equipment, and obviously you can tell roughly here. You give them talents, their skills, their gear, and then their stats and whatnot will be here based on their experience level. So if they're novice, experienced or veteran, we use these different stats. So we've got a generic thief, we've got generic wizard, generic alchemists, generic warrior priests. We can hire dogs, so you can have a dog companion instead. So we've got bloodhounds, wolfhounds and other stuff, and then the wizards can get familiars, and then a couple of blank pages at the back. So yeah, really cool companion thing there. Oh, the Dark Pyramid is not the quest book 2. Quest book 2 is quest book 2. Okay, so we got more quests. So quest book 2, I think then the Dark Pyramid is a small side thing, whereas this thing you can see we have a lot of quests in here, and I believe the way that they are done is you have campaigns, and then so you've got Cult of the Hydra is a campaign, and so all of the quests that follow this will be its quests. Then you've got the Witches campaign. So the quest book is, it would have been better to have called it Campaign Book 2, because it has a number of campaigns in it. I mean, it has a number of quests as well, but I think Campaign Book 2, because it is full of campaigns that are made up of quests. But that's just, again, that's just a wording choice. So nice and thick. There are plenty of quests. This is going to keep me busy for definitely the next year or so. Get in there. Quick reference compendium. So this, again, like I said, it was all very table heavy before. So this is how you randomize your squares for the rooms. So this is where you would use 2 different colored dice, or at least roll once and then roll again. To generate your rooms, you would use 2d4s for this, and yeah, so makes it easier to place things. He's got a table for that. For settlements, we can have settlements, events, quest dice, and all sorts of things. Like I said, this is all the reference stuff. So originally you would have printed all of this out and then chosen what tables to print and bind separately to the rulebook. But this time it comes all with it. So we've got all of this, all of these tables. We've got tables for alchemy. One thing that I do really like that I've just seen there that has reminded me is how to do things. So he's got these really cool flow charts. So we'll go through the opening door. So open a door, you roll a d6 and a d10. So you can roll them together. You raise the threat level by 1 because you are making noise opening the door. If the d6 result is a 1 to 5, then it's not trapped. If it's a 6, then it's trapped, and you then resolve the trap on the trap table. You then look at the d10 result. So obviously you could roll the d6 first and then roll the d10 here, but to save a bit of time you can do it together. If you get a 1 to 6, then it's not locked. If it's a 7 to 10, it's locked. So not locked, is it a chest or a door? If it's a chest, you roll to see what treasure is in there. If it's a door, you place the tile. Obviously you then swap the door to an open door. You place the following tile. You roll to see what encounter is in there. If there's no encounter, then you continue your turn. If there is an encounter, then you go through the encounter process. And then obviously if it's locked, you can either bash. If you bash the door, you increase the threat level by 2. You attempt to bash it. If you don't open it, you have to go through that again. Or you can pick the lock. If you pick the lock, then it automatically does it, but obviously you need lock picks to do that. So we've got these flow charts for everything. We've got the combat turn, the enemy turn, because obviously they're AI. We've got heroes attacks, making potions, so you can make your own potions in this, which is really cool, and spell casting, and then obviously the empty back. Bestiary. Now I used to call this bestiary. I didn't realise that there was no A in there, and I thought it was bestiary because it's a book of beasts and, you know, monsters and stuff, but no, apparently it's bestiary. Try and get this so I can get it on camera. So we've got obviously a list of the different types of monsters here. We've got some introduction. Love the artwork that is in these. I do love just the way everything is done. It's not black on white. It's very easy to read, very easy to see what you're looking at and to flick through. They've shown for exotic monsters. Now obviously we've got things like a lurker. So this demon resembles a huge floating eye surrounded by a number of tentacles, each crowned by another eye. So we know that that's an observer, or a whatever D&D would call it, but because of copyright reasons they've had to change the name and whatnot. The same as Psyker. This would be a intellect devourer. Driders, obviously still kept. Blood demons, we've got lesser plague demons. Mimics. Plague demon is obviously a Nothic from D&D. But yeah, obviously he avoided copyright, which is awesome. Goes through the monster cards. So everything in here is just tables and you can see it is tables and stuff. There are cards for them, so don't worry, the cards are all down here. Not all of them for monsters, but yeah. So I just sort of flick through it. It is a very well made book. Monster behavior. We've got things on higher undead, so depending on the type of monster, magic users, they'll react differently. These are tables for generating monsters, so you'll roll a 1d20. Is that right? Because you can't roll a 63, 64. That would be rolling a d100, wouldn't it? But it goes to 110. So I'm not sure there. But yeah, so we've got tables to roll on, lots of tables. We've got orcs and goblins, reptiles. So plenty of monsters. There are hundreds of them. I don't think any of them are duplicated, but it may be. I think what it is, because we've got giant spiders there and we've got giant spiders there. So yeah, they are duplicated. So the way that it works is if you are on a quest that features dark elves, you will only roll on this table. You won't roll on the other tables because that means mixing dungeons and you wouldn't get orcs with elves in the same dungeon. I mean, you might do, but generally you'd expect the quest to be focused around dark elves. So this is more when you're generating your own quests and things. So yeah, that's the bestiary. And then at the bottom here, we've got the rulebook. So the League of Dungeoneers rulebook. Again, very beautifully made book, hardback, and this is thick. I think the only rule books that I have seen this thick are the Warhammer ones. Most others aren't as thick. We've got some nice amount of lore in this. I think there are snippets of lore throughout the book as well. We've got an index of art, so if you want to know who the artists are, then it does name all of the artists in here. I'm not going to go through them all, but yeah, they are in there. So we've got a lot of the stuff that you should have, the components, just so you can make sure that you've got everything. So yeah, there it is. It's small tokens. So rules for these tokens are not included in this book, but hold on to them. You will soon be told how to put them to good use. And I think those are the ones for the false prophet, which, looking at time, guys, I think that may end up being a separate video for the false prophet, because we have still got quite a bit to go through. And yeah, this is going to be a two-part video. So you'd be watching the second part now. So yeah, rules, we've got game basics, action points. All models have 2 action points. Models means both heroes and enemies, so everybody gets 2 action points. You can move and attack, you can move and move, you can attack and attack, you can move and unlock a door, you can move and open a chest, you can move and disarm a trap, you can disarm a trap and move, you know, a whole combination, but it's 2 armor points each. We've got rules for line of sight. Complexity, so he has said that you can ignore some of these rules to make it a little bit easier, so you don't have to worry about sanity, party morale, you don't have to worry about weapon durability if you just want your weapons to be more like they are in, say, Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder. Then you don't have to worry about that. These are optional if you want to have a more realistic game. You know, if you're smashing on armor with your sword all the time, it's going to take damage, especially if you miss and hit a wall or something. Then he's got a brilliant example, gameplay example here on how to play through the game. I've just realised you are all watching this upside down. Hopefully I can flip the video in editing. But yeah, I'll try and rotate the video. So we've got party management. This goes through all how to create your characters and your party and everything. Again, I will make a video for that where I create my party for the playthroughs. I love this black and white art, especially where you've got sort of this black and white against the line work backgrounds. I think it just makes it pop. Yeah, brilliant. So Really do like that. So yeah, we've got the classes. We've got Ranger, Rogue, Alchemist, Barbarian. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a Thief, a Warrior, so that's 6. A Warrior Priest, which is like your Cleric and things like that. A Wizard, and I think that's it. So 8 classes, 4 races and 8 classes, and the False Prophet expansion does add to that. Backgrounds, so you can give your characters backgrounds which will give them a personal quest and some traits and things like that. Might make them a little bit weaker in some things. So obviously arachnophobia, you're going to be a little weaker when fighting spiders. Oh, actually no, it's the opposite. So you were scared of spiders, but you eventually overcame that fear and you actually turn it into a strength. You gain plus 10 CS whenever trying to hit a spider. So yeah, it's not bad. I might have to have a look through these and see what I want for my character or characters. Then we've got obviously equipment. Whether you can hold a piece of equipment depends on your strength. Again, we'll go through all that in a different video. There's just so much. Basically, all of the quick reference charts and that are all in here. He just put them into a separate thing because it's so much more handy having them spiral bound that you're able to flip right through rather than try and find a page in a book that is this thick. So we got dungeoneering and combat, how to do this kind of stuff with dice and things like that. Everything that you can search. Again, this obviously has images, the other one didn't, but yep, because it was more of a quick reference. This obviously full color book, just to make it look really stunning. We've got heroes attacking. I love the artwork. So he's shown here that you can play in 3D if you're using 3D dungeon tiles and characters and stuff. Obviously 28mm is going to be about the best fitting size, but you could stretch it up to 32. I believe the squares on the tiles are 1-inch grid. So obviously you're using Warhammer miniatures. Games Workshop have come completely off the rails with their bases. All sorts of sizes now, so it doesn't really work for this unless you're trying to use the set in between or every other base size, but I don't know why they did that. 25, 50, 75, you know, all of that would have been better. So we've got stuff for outdoors here, traveling and skirmishes. When you're outdoors, we've got things that you can have effect on, things like line of sight. So if you've got completely forested, then when you're shooting through it, you can't, you get a -10 to shooting. There's no height advantage when you're on it, but there is when you're standing on a haystack. So he really has thought of everything, or almost everything with this. And you know, for making it on his own, obviously improved upon feedback from the print and play version, but for the most part he made this on his own, and yeah, it's amazing. So we've got a map of Silver City there. Arena fighting, so he's gone how you can fight in arena. Horse racing, the guilds, fortune tellers, which I'm assuming will give you buffs for quests and things like that. So each class has its own guild. We've got wizards guilds, alchemist guilds, rangers guild, fighters, the inner sanctum for the religious types. You can buy estates, you can furnish it with things, all of which is going to buff up your character. I'd say for a game that isn't roleplay heavy, there is a lot more to do in this than Dungeons and Dragons, which is more aimed at roleplay. Like I said, this one you can roleplay if you're in a group. Dungeons and Dragons, it's a little bit harder, but this has for everything's been accounted for. It is just amazing. We've got appendix, we've got treasures. So yeah, it is just a huge book of charts. At the back of the book, we actually have quest book 1, so it is part of the rules book. So this is where you'll be starting. You start with the first blood quest, and that's what you'll do, and then you'll move on to a campaign, and you'll go through the quests of that campaign. These breaks on the pages are actually there to stop you going beyond. So basically what you would do when you get to a certain point within the quest, then you continue reading. So obviously this one's for the objective and things like that. At least that's how I understand it. I may have misread somewhere. We've got the Dead Rising, the Highwayman, the Burning Village. So that's all part of the Dead Rising campaign, which is the first campaign in the book. I won't go through any more of those. We don't want, you know, a huge amount of spoilers. So yeah, a lot of books and tables and charts and everything else, but it is all amazingly put together. Now this tray, I'm hoping, is going to be big enough to hold all the cards sleeved. Looking at the space here, I don't think it's going to be. I may have to get a deck box or two to fit all of these in. But all of these come lovely wrapped with these cellophane wraps. If we can get one here. So this is one of the treasure, or two of the treasure decks. What I'll do, I'll break them, but we're not going to go through everything, guys. So this deck is made up of fine treasure, and we've got a slightly different colour tone there for mundane treasure, and then another lightly colour, or is it all mundane? No, that's all mundane. That is one big deck. So obviously before you would have been rolling on tables, now you can just randomly shuffle and draw. So Alchemist Belt, we get one Alchemist Belt. That's fine treasure. It's worth 300, and I'm assuming that's its durability. I will have to read up on what this is, and that's what it costs encumbrance, I think. So 1d4 is its possibly its damage. Yes, I think that is when you find it, that's how damaged it is, possibly. Let's do one more. So we've got here iron wedges, so you can find or you can buy some iron wedges. 1d3 iron wedges takes 1 AP plus 1 AP for closing the door to use. So 2 AP, you close the door and then you jam it with a wedge. Any enemy, wandering monster or monster already on the table, will need 6 AP to pass the door, and they only get 2 AP each, so that's interesting. And then here we have mundane treasure, lamp oil. We've got arrows, so you found 10 arrows, and we found some bolts. So we're well equipped for the quest there just by finding some treasure. Here are your mercenary cards and some treasure cards. Oh, some more some exploration cards. Wonderful treasure, and I think that does include another treasure, possibly just wonderful. But yeah, so deck of more treasure cards. We'll have a look at these ones in a sec. We've got monster cards, more monster cards, spell cards, spells various levels, from 1 to 6. We've got the traps and exploration cards, and then we've got event cards. So let's have a look at the this one first. If we can get it open. So obviously before, if you triggered a trap, you would roll on the trap table. These cards make it so you just draw a card and click. No trap is sprung, and you may continue the turn as if nothing had happened. Oh, so it was an old trap and it didn't trigger. Labyrinth. Add 2 random room cards on top of each pile. So I love the fact that it's got a little bit of fluff with it, and then if triggered, sanity 2 and party morale -1. So triggering traps and stuff does do stuff to your party if you are tracking that. Exploration cards. So we're just going to turn these over, but basically we've got 1 card for every tile in the game, including the boss rooms. We've got some side quest cards here, an objective room, Oh, you got the shrine, the thieves' den, and so yeah, all these rooms. These are alternative ones, so I'm assuming on alternative quests it will tell you to use room 2B instead of room 2. But yeah, super easy. I'm sure you guys can understand how it is. You would shuffle your deck, place them face down, and then when you open a door and you go through all the door process and you lay the room, you find out which room you lay, so burial chamber. And that's what you would do. You would lay your rooms down and go through the dungeon, obviously finding out what you're doing. Mercenary, so I'm not going to go through this one, but basically these are the cards for the mercenary books. These are what you can just place down next to your sheet so that you don't need to worry about creating a character if you want mercenaries. And then we can see we've got exploration cards is the other part of this for the pyramid campaign, so one of the other campaigns. What else do we have? So we've got obviously wonderful treasure. We won't go through these. I'm just trying to save time, guys, because this part of the video has been an hour, plus I did obviously an earlier, so we're well over an hour now. Spells, we will go through all of this at some point during playthroughs anyway. Monster cards I will go through with you just so we can have a quick look at the way the monster cards are done. Maybe he says trying to get the peely off. No, can we get it? I really don't want to do this, but I'm hoping I can just get that in there. That's it. There we go. Didn't damage anything. So obviously the monsters, they are all individual cards. There's no, so you can see if this is all monsters and they're individual cards. There are a lot of monsters, but basically it has the stats for each one. When you kill them, it shows their health, their HP, what it takes to hit them, so minus 15 to hit, so you roll your dice, negative 15, and then you see if you still hit it. It's a flyer, it's got pyrophobia, so it's actually scared of fire. The XP you get for killing it, and what you get treasure wise. So if you kill a harpy, you roll on the parts table and you see what parts you got from the harpy. Some of them will be like a satire, is T1, so that's the tier 1 treasure table. Parts, tier 2 and T3, I think that's the highest. Oh no, okay, T5. T5 seems to be the highest. So tier 5 treasure tables. Let's get that back in there. And then again, so that's just one deck of monsters, guys. This is another deck of monsters here. I don't think they are duplicates. Yeah, look at this. We've got Ulfric, the lower undead, Umber the Etin. So we've got named Imgrahil the apprentice, Dig, Gorm. So we've even got named, I'm assuming these would obviously be bosses. Yeah, quest monsters. So on the back of them as well, I should show you this. So it tells you their type. So if they're beasts, if they are, this is a lot of beasts. You've got quest monsters. Oh, okay, so we've got quest monsters and beasts. On the back of these ones, we can show you magic. So we've got magic monsters, magical monsters, reptiles, orcs and goblins, and obviously this then goes for your baggies, so you know what you're playing out. You've got your bandits, which obviously your bandits and brigands. You've got your undead. So yeah, plenty of monsters there as well. And putting these into sleeves is going to be fun. And then finally there is a small deck, and I say small because a couple of decks, it's actually small cards. But we've got weapons, spells and some other things. These ones aren't them thingies, so excuse me, but I try and open that with my mouth. There we go. So these, I'm not too sure what the numbered shields are for. I know that they're not initiative, but we've got shield -5 to hit unless last attack was a power attack. We've got net, crossbow, pistol, longbows, halberds, short bows. So these, as I understand it, are more used with mercenaries and enemies. So if we can draw an enemy here that has a weapon, let's go with a dark elf. What you would do in the quest, or wherever it is that tells you, it would say, well, you get a dark elf and she's got a halberd with her or him. So you can put that card there, so you know that you're rolling 1d12 to do damage and whatever else. So that's what these smaller cards, as I believe it, are for. But we've got them for weapons, and I've just noticed I've got another one here. Oh, these are the poker cards. So originally, like I said, when it was print and play, the rooms, instead of having numbers, they would have the pokers, so 2 to 9 on them. Is there 10 and then Jack? 2 to 10. 2 to 10. And then they would use the aces, jacks, queens, kings for the special rooms. And so you would print and play them. I did actually print them and put them onto boards, not realising that Michael was going to send me this at the time. So I do have a printed version with these on them. But basically these work the same as the exploration. Instead of the exploration cards, you would draw a card. It would be like the 2 of hearts, so then you would find the matching tile. 2 of hearts is a corridor, for example, and you would place that down. But in the rule book, it does state that these cards do get used for other stuff within this campaign. So there may be a little bit of gambling involved in one of the cities, and that you use these for that, I don't know. But it is cool that he included them in there. And he did also say that if you wanted to 3D print or print your own rooms of different shapes and sizes, then you can include these, you can give them these cards. So a 2 of diamonds, for example, would be a 3x4x2 room. That way it gives you more room variation using the extra cards. Which, yeah, so cool little addition in there. So that is everything, guys. I didn't go through the travel event cards. Let's just go through that quickly, because again, that is something that's going to be different to the sort of the standard structure of monster cards and things like that. Plus I get to open more things. So if we go to the back, we've got exploration cards for travel on the roads, put that way. We've got travel event cards for wilderness and travel event cards for desert. So obviously while you're out rolling about, travelling from town to town, excuse me there guys, so travelling from town to town, I'm assuming you'll roll on a table, or you would draw from this deck and you would get an encounter. Place the heroes in the middle, then place 1d6 whites with, there you go, so you would grab the whites card, and one has long swords, shields and armor 2. That's what the shield with the 2 would be on it then. And 1d6 mummies with great swords and armor 2. So you would draw them cards out and you would put them with the monsters in a square pattern around the heroes, 4 squares away and as evenly spread out as possible. We've got an underground river, so the party may add 1d2 rations to their pack. Bear in mind these are the desert ones. And then lost. Return the party to the hex they started at, then randomise each direction they move toward, then move the party in that direction at its full movement. Okay. So we've got in here, let's get that card back in there. We can find highwaymen, a fugitive. The side quest manhunt is now in effect in the next dungeon the party enters. So the next dungeon that you go in, you would have a side quest in there that you have to complete because of this card. Let's go through a wandering salesman. You can find a salesman. Use the standard tables for wares with a 10% discount. So he sells things 10%. However, the quality appears to vary but nothing that won't polish up well if one believes the salesman. So the standard roll for availability must still be done. After the purchase, roll a d6 for each item. On a 6, the item turns out to be rubbish and must be discarded. So there you go. So you could buy an item and then get ripped off. So he's even ripping us off in the game. Awesome. Oh, a dragon. That's something you don't want to come across. So yeah. What I may do, guys, because obviously this has been a long unboxing video, I may come back and do a small review video giving my impressions on it. I mean, you can probably tell the way that I'm excited about all this, that I'm loving it all already. I just have a few minor things that are personal opinion on things. In fact, I can say it here, you know, I don't have to do another video. Base sizes. This is all that's bothering me, base sizes. We've got what appears to be 20 mil. Here, if we measure it, yeah, 20 mil. So it's a 20 mil base, not a 25 mil. Now I'm assuming the monster it would count as 25 mil. And then we've got this larger base. There's nothing in between, nothing bigger. And I personally prefer how Dungeons and Dragons does it, where the bigger the monster, the bigger the base, because the more space it's going to take up. And when I was going through all the standees, I noticed that they're all one or another size, like it's this size or this size. Maybe a slight variation, but it's only going to use these bases, which obviously are only going to take up a certain number of squares. These are only going to take up 1, these are only going to take up 4. But in Dungeons and Dragons and in this game, you're going to get monsters that will take up a 3x3 instead of a 2x2, or maybe a 2x3. Less likely that, but the point is there's obviously a bit of a limitation if you're just using the standees. Miniature wise, I'm hoping that it works out if you use a dragon that is on a large 75mm base instead of a 50mm base, that it will still fit in the dungeon, fit in the rooms and on the boards to be usable. I'm thinking a dragon is probably going to be outside, it's not going to be down a corridor in a dungeon, but maybe one of the larger rooms and stuff like that. Aside from that, that is the only, it's not even a critique, it is literally a personal thing that I'm just being picky. I can't think of anything that I'm disappointed with on this. So again, huge thank you to Michael for sending me this. Very, very much appreciated. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will put a link in the corner for the False Prophet unboxing. This has been well over an hour and 20 minutes already between the two videos. I've broken it into 2 halves. I know I'm doing that as I'm saying this before editing videos in 2 parts. So I hope you've enjoyed both parts. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. I need those likes. If you want to see gameplay of this, as well as painting videos, other board games such as Hero Quest, Cursed City and Zombicide, if you want to see me playing those, then obviously subscribe as well. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other board game recommendations. I'm looking for things ideally in Kickstarter or relatively new. So the campaign's either still going, just about to go, or just about to start, or is finished. Maybe the backers have just got all their copies, but the game is still available to be purchased. Anything that can be played solo that includes miniatures and moving things around the board. I'm not one for card games. I'm not one for deck building games and things like that. But anything that involves miniatures and dungeon crawling, that kind of thing, let me know down in the comments what you would like to see. The more comments that I get for that, I can then push. If I can't afford it, then I will reach out to the publishers and say, look, I've got these people wanting to see this, would you like to support some videos? If you're a games maker out there and you've seen this and you want to throw me something, just contact me on my email address. I do have that down in the description, I think. If not, leave a comment and I'll reach out to you. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think of this, guys, especially if you own it, if you've played it, what you think of it. Is it as complicated as it looks, or is it, you know, a case of once you've learnt it, you've learnt it? With obviously going through references and stuff, you're going to have to do that because it's so big, but I'm assuming things like combat and turn sequence and that kind of stuff is relatively easy to learn. Anyway, guys, that is all for the video, so thank you ever so much. Do check out the links if you want to buy it. They're not affiliate links. I don't make any money on this. They're just there for you to go and purchase the game. I believe some shops did get some copies as well to sell, so your local shops may have them, hobby shops and things like that. But again, it's a little bit old, so some of those places may have sold out. But yeah, check the links, and I'm sure if you want a copy and it's not available in your region, there is a contact us form on there. I'm not saying everybody do this. I don't want to drown Michael in requests, but you could just send a message, hey, is this still available? Do you know when you'll be getting it back in stock? And things like that. Hopefully it's in stock in your area. Like I said, UK has the Knave version. Europe has both versions, the Knave and the Queen. And the False Prophet is available in the UK as well. But America at the minute, parts, I think Canada is having trouble as well because of America. I'm not entirely sure how that's working out, but they're waiting for stock over there. But if you're in the UK, Europe, get on it. It's, you know, if you like Dungeons and Dragons, but you're not a big role player, or you don't have friends that like role playing, or you don't have friends and you're like me, then this is great. Solo game, dungeon crawler. It's all about it's majority about the combat and the exploration, and not so much about the interactions that you have to make with people. But that is all for now, guys. Sorry I've dragged on, but until next time, as always, take it easy and keep painting those minis.